Good morning, everyone. So how do we end up here now in front of the camera? Where do I start? Where do I finish? So, let's start from the basics. My name is Felix. I've got a couple of projects on the go with cars. I'm a car guy, and so is my father-in-law. So he's really into cars. He's got his own supercharged Mustang, and we just bought a project together. So that project is a 2002 Mustang GT that we bought for a mere $2,500. Obviously there's issues with it at that price. So yeah, it's got a quarter panel damage in the rear. I'm gonna show that to you in a second, but how did I end up here making a video of all of that was just the reason that Jeff, my father-in-law, said, well, hey, this could be interesting for people out there. So yeah, I thought, why not start it? Just give it a try. I did some German videos, but it's quite boring, to say the least, if you're doing it alone. So off there to another try doing it in English and together with someone else. So yeah, first project is the Mustang. Got another project which is an RV that I'm just gonna show you in a second, and then I've got like maybe this Jetta is nothing special. It's a diesel Jetta, I mean, but that might be interesting for someone to have a look into there once I start modifying it, but we'll see. It's just my daily driver. I've got a 2003 F-150 King Ranch, which I bought non-running, and it had a broken spark plug. Like, the spark plug literally broke in half. I can just put some pictures of that in here. I replaced the spark plugs, replaced 2 ignition coils, I think, and then it ran fine again. So yeah, that's another car that's there that I'm gonna use occasionally, like on weekend drives or something. And I've got a Mercedes together with my uncle, an old 1995 C280. Nice car, drives really nice, but that project is like done. We bought it for $1,000. Only drove backwards and turned out to be a little clip in the transmission that was broken, so I don't think it makes much sense to do a video about that. So yeah, well, for now we're gonna go to the Mustang and go to the RV and then go to the Mustang and give you just a quick little idea about what we're doing there, and I might just keep the work up and film the whole project, and then we'll see how we go from there. So yep, stay tuned. See you just in a second. So that is the RV I've been talking about. Let's just quickly go around that corner just to show you how it looks inside, because I've taken it apart a little bit because I found a little bit of a water leak exactly in that spot here. Like, all the siding was still on the wall, and I started digging to see how far it went, and it went along the whole side wall, like up until where it's opened. You can see the metal beam, this one, and goes up here. That's all rusty, and that has been a good carrier for the moisture, as it seems, because you can also see it behind that wall here, which is quite moist. I mean, it dried off by now quite a bit, but it pulled, like, you could, let's just open this up here. All of this wall where the kitchen was in front of was already wet as well. So just like the rear wall, this has been all wet, and I'd stopped digging any further because at this point I feel like it doesn't make too much sense to rebuild it, especially with the amount of work that it takes. It's not just so much the material, but the amount of work. And then the rest of the car still has a rebuild title. We've got issues like there's another soft spot here. I haven't looked into that, but you can just basically open it up. That's all soft. That has been wet before. There's this gap between this wall and that wall. There's a gap down here where you can look outside. So that's all I would say less than ideal. So yeah, the question is, what are we gonna do with it? Because it still is a really good chassis. There's not much rust, if like the rust on the frame is just surface rust. And it's got a really good running V10 gasoline engine, which is basically the same engine that they have in the new Edge Mustangs as a 4.6 basically. Well, that obviously is a V8, but this one is basically the same as a V10. So ideas are floating around, either swapping that thing into a Mustang, kind of just buy a V6 or something, a coupe I would assume. Buy a V6 with a manual transmission, see if the manual transmissions of the GTs and the V6 are the same. Because if they are, we could just use that transmission for... If it's not, if it's weaker than the V8 transmission, then we could still just throw it on for testing purposes. But yeah, in the end, that's one idea. The other idea is to remove the whole coach and just turn it into a flatbed truck. But the issue is, as you can see here, this is where the cab ends and the coach begins. And this is where the seat, this is the passenger seat, where it sits, is way behind that corner. And for me being really tall, I'm basically facing this angle up here. So same thing, the seat is in the coach area. So I'll have to find a solution for that. Maybe get a truck cab or something and put it on the chassis. Like an F350 cab, because that should fit. Not sure though, but we can make it work, I guess. And still, I mean, since this is a 24-foot long chassis, there's still plenty of space, even if this has a truck chassis. I mean, the hood will probably, from the truck, will probably be up until this point maybe, where the engine ends. Then you've got the door, and then you've got another door which goes up until this point. So this whole end is still available for a flatbed or whatever I want to do with it. I even thought about just using the shell basically and turn it into an enclosed trailer, but the issue is still it's leaking. I've got some, this is a spot that I hit a tree going backwards 2 kilometers an hour or something, so really slow, but still. And it still has that issue with the gaps in here that I just showed you, right? So I don't know if that makes much sense. I think it would be interesting to just have a car just sitting in the back here, still have the opportunity to sleep up there if you go to an event or something, and still have the storage cabinets above the vehicle, or at least the front ones, these ones. This one especially, when you've got the front of the car parked underneath here. All of that obviously has to come out, and these ones up there as well, just to have the height. So yeah, there's some ideas floating around. So if you have another idea on what we could do with this thing, just write it in the comments, and we will go from there. But as of right now, this thing is paid. It's a little bit of a bummer with the water leak right now, just because it's has been my major savings into this thing. And I was all new to RVs. I know I shouldn't have done that, but well, that's how you learn from things, right? And you can only continue and maybe do something fun out of it so it doesn't go to waste. That would be quite sad. So yeah, with that being said, I think we'll go back to the Mustang right now and work a little bit on that. And then we will see how this ends up. Oh, and by the way, I just replaced one of the spark ignition coils here, Bosch one, because it's been on its way out. So yeah, now it's running really good again. I can just start it up for fun. I drove around without the engine cover, and holy shit, that thing is loud. You see? It runs fine. I mean, that would be an interesting project to say the least, right? But we'll see. Yeah, again, maybe I'll just throw a truck cab on it and turn it into a flatbed truck, which I would like to do. and maybe have like another, I mean, that V10 Mustang idea is floating around in my head since quite a while right now, so I don't know, I guess this would be a chance, and would definitely be a fun project. Okay, so now I'll just put it back together, and then we're on the way to the Mustang. Loading. And so here is project number 2. A 2002 Mustang GT convertible with a little bit of a sidewall damage. So you've heard part of the story again. We bought it for $2,500 on the salvage title because this is the damage. We bought it from someone who bought it off the salvage auction. The previous, like the damage stated was that the previous owner ran over something, and yeah, the thing is we had it on ramps, and I've been looking underneath the car and I could not find any other damage than this one. And to be fair, this seems to be an old damage to me because there's some kit underneath there, and this seems to be the damage that has been caused from this running over something. So what we assume is that he just backed into something and then came up with a story, or someone like ran into it and left the scene or something like that, and he came up with the story of running over something, and yeah, got the money back from the insurance. So current issue right now is obviously the damage, but we found another couple of issues. For example, just minor things really. The fan only works on the highest. If I start it up now, which I will do, it has a very high idle. The idle will, sometimes it ends up being like the 800 that we want, sometimes it ends up being 2500, and so we'll definitely have to have a look into there. That's why I'm here for today, so we'll see if we can find anything. But other than that, it's really not bad car. I mean, I vacuumed it last time, and I only vacuumed it, did nothing else, and it looks fine. There was a lot of junk in the car too, so yeah. The convertible top works. Wait, maybe we can do this. You can see a little more. The convertible top works. One issue that we found was in this tray here. Has been some water sitting, so it's been leaking, and we assume it is leaking from these spots. That's why there's some Gorilla Tape on there now, because there's 2 holes in there. Yeah, but other than that, it drives fine. It drives nice. Let me just shut it off for a second. We had another issue when I first bought it. First thing I did was obviously filling it up with some premium gasoline, and it's been leaking out onto the flatbed truck. And you can see why. You can clearly see why. And there was also an evap code for, I would assume, this little pipe here, but I don't really know where it goes though. It goes like, oh, I'd have to look into it again. Anyway, we replaced that whole funnel neck, filler neck, with a new one. Didn't solve the idle issue, but it'll definitely hold up better than the old one. And at the same time, the check engine light stayed off even after like driving 50 kilometers. So yeah, next thing I'm gonna do is why the engine is idling high, and we'll keep you updated on that one. Okay, so here's a quick look over the engine as well before I start working on it. It's fairly clean, but that's mostly due to me pressure washing the engine. It has been quite dirty, but just because of like some oil leak from typical valve cover oil leaks. It's not a low mileage example. It's got 265 or 267,000 kilometers. You just saw it in the dash, and obviously then valve covers usually leak. We've got a new air filter in it because that was dirty. We've got, what else did we do? Did something else. Jeff bought some other parts, but anyway, I'm looking for maybe something that's an intake leak, something wrong with the throttle body. Maybe I'm gonna take that apart, and then we'll see if I can find anything and hopefully bring the idle down, because that would solve a lot of issues for now. Yeah, then we definitely need some new tires up front, because these ones are quite low. The rears aren't that bad. I don't know if we are going to replace them anyway, but we have to have the vehicle inspected for the damage, of course, and for the inspection everything else must be alright too, so definitely needs a set of tires here. So yeah, let me just look for an issue here, and then we'll go from there. So this is the idle control valve. If I'm pinching up the air support there, the idle comes down until it stalls, which just means the throttle body should be fine, so there's nothing going through there. But I'm gonna have a look at this guy here. Also, if I disconnect it, as far as I know, it should turn off, but it doesn't. So all same thing happens to this one, which is the throttle position sensor. And what happens if I do it on the mud airflow sensor? It stalls. Okay, but it should start up right away again, and it'll probably idle very high. Huh. Nope, now I've got a low idle, but kinda about to stall. Okay, now he's got a signal again, and then the idle should run higher again. Ah, now it's better. I'm still gonna check out this idle valve, idle control valve. So yeah, right now we're looking at the desired 800 RPM idle. Before it was 2000. So let's see what happens if I disconnect that guy. Still nothing. Okay, I'm gonna have a look into that. I'm gonna take it off, and then we'll go from there. So I removed the throttle body assembly, the whole thing, because after I checked the idle control valve, it moves a very tiny little bit. I would assume it needs more movement, but I heard a hissing noise from down there too, so I just thought I might want to check the gasket and the sealing surfaces. Maybe I could find some damage on there, but all of that looks really good. There's no crack in the plastic or something. There's no scratches in the sealing surfaces, and the gasket, I mean, I've cleaned it now, looks good too. It wasn't curled or something. So yeah, I think Jeff said he still has one of these whole assemblies in there, because his Mustang, which is just sitting underneath that cover here, is supercharged. So he's got a whole different intake manifold. All of that is different, of course. And he's running, so he just kept this stuff. So it might be somewhere in there. Jeff's not home right now, so we'll get back to that later. But as of for now, I might throw it back together. I don't want any rain or something to go in there, like any moisture or something collect in there. But yeah, we'll see. We'll go from there. That's the next step. Yeah, so the idle has a weird issue to it, that it's now sitting quite low, and sometimes it revs up, and it's weird. Also, one thing, it's ticking a little bit, and I think that's a lifter noise. Might be able to hear it from here. Well, anyway, we'll have to address that as well, of course. But for now, I'm gonna source this thing, see if we'll have it flying and lighting around somewhere, and replace it, see if the issue is still there or not. It's a little hard to tell, right? So I'm still assuming it's the idle control valve. So yeah, I guess I'll call it a day for today and continue on it another time. Maybe someone else has an idea about what could be wrong here with the idle, because right now the idle sits fine, but as soon as I wrap it up, it should stay up. But it stays up for quite a while, and now it starts moving again. So now we're looking at 1500. So yeah, it's a little odd. It's a little odd. And yes, of course, the check engine light is on due to all the connectors that we just talked about. So yeah, there's a little bit of work to it. I'll say that. I don't know if we overpaid it, but I guess we will find out soon enough. So the thing is, let me just turn it off real quick here. Okay, so the major reason why we bought it is to make money on it. It's a little bit like to have a nice project, of course, which is fun, and then enjoy it for a bit, but then also to make some money on it, to get out of that project. That's fun, and just tick some cars off the bucket list, you know, just cool stuff. I don't know if we'll always have a cool car like that, but surely will be interesting enough. So yeah, I guess we shall see. Yeah, also what I forgot to tell you about the RV, if someone comes by and buys it as it is for a price that I'm happy with, then it's not gonna be turned into a project, of course. Then I'm just gonna sell it off and maybe have some more money for some other projects. And yeah, so we'll see about that. Maybe like a diesel. If I'm ever doing like that flatbed truck, then that's probably gonna be a diesel rather than a gasoline V10, but whatever happens. So we will see.